Darling, you got to let me know. Should I stay or should I go? Should I stay or should I go now? Should I stay or should I go now?
Well, should I stay or should I go is a question that British people will be asking themselves today. It is the Brexit vote. The polls open at about 1 o'clock today. And joining us now in the studio with a business perspective is Zach Hydari. He's the chief executive of Ras Mallah. It's an asset management company with more than $1 billion under management. In many ways, it was founded here in Dubai and is based here in Dubai, but is headquartered and listed on the London Stock Exchange. Zach, thanks very much indeed for being with us this morning.
Good morning.
So you are British, but in many ways you have a foot in both camps because your business, Ras Mallah, is focused very much on the Gulf and this part of the world. You're getting on a plane shortly. You're going to fly back to London and you're going to vote. And you're going to vote Remain. Why?
Well, I started leaning towards the Leave camp when this campaign started. And during the campaign, I had a very open mind. I was open to listening to both arguments, the Leave and Remain arguments. And as the campaign has progressed, I have concluded that Remain is the right way to go for the UK. I think that the Leave campaign hasn't been able to articulate a clear story in terms of what the alternative option is. And as a result, I think that creates way too much uncertainty. So I'm opting for the safer route.
So it's fear of the unknown rather than a passionate love of the European Union and its economic benefits to Britain.
I don't actually know anyone who is passionate about the EU, at least not in the UK. And so, yes, I think it is. It's just simply. It is simply self-interest to make sure that we remain part of what is the largest trading bloc in the world.
To play devil's advocate, though, Zach, is staying in for the sake of avoiding the uncertainty, avoiding the unknown, really a good argument?
Well, I think that's a good question. There are two ways to look at, what the impact could be. There's really the short term, and I think the short term is where a lot of the arguments have been targeted in terms of the financial uncertainty, market uncertainty, the turbulence that we're likely to expect if there is an outvote. But over the longer term, when you look at a 5 to 10 year horizon, I think it's really about the uncertainty about where and how Britain would trade during that period. So, no, I don't think it's just a good enough argument about the uncertainty that happens in the short term. I'm really referring to uncertainty about, if we are not part of the EU over 5, 10, 15, 20 plus year horizon, then I haven't actually heard an argument clearly about where we would sit as an alternative.
So what does it mean for us here in Dubai, the UAE and the wider Gulf, which is where most of your customers, your investors sit?
Right. Well, I think, again, I would look at the UAE-UK relationship from a long-term perspective. This relationship spans 500 years. And so I think if the UK either chooses to stay or to leave, frankly, in my view, it's not going to make a great deal of difference to the relationship. The relationship stands on many different pillars. There's trade, there's investment, there's tourism. And I can't really see that changing. I think one of the things that a lot of people don't know is that the UK-UAE trade relationship, or the UK-Gulf trade relationship, is larger than the relationship between the UK and China, or the UK and India. So it's very important, and I cannot see a change in that relationship which is deep and long-lasting.
What about assets that Gulf investors have that are in the UK or managed out of the UK? And you're a classic example of that. Of the $1 billion plus that you manage for mainly Gulf clients, I know a chunk of it is based in the UK. What kind of assets do they own there, and how might those assets be impacted by a Brexit?
That is true. I mean, we have, after saying that I don't think there'll be an impact, I must admit in the first 6 months we have seen a direct impact on our business. The investor sentiment in the GCC has been wait and see, I think, like pretty much everyone else in the world. So we have seen a marked and dramatic slowdown slowdown in outflows from the GCC into the UK. But taking again sort of the broader perspective, I think UAE investors in the UK are both institutional and high net worth. There are investments in infrastructure, in business, there are investments in real estate, and I think maybe in the short term you're likely to see an impact if there is a run on the currency. There's likely to be an impact in terms of what those investments are worth, but the fundamental reason why Gulf investors invest in the UK, which is it's an open economy, one of the largest economies, a deep economy, a stable economy, a country with long-standing links with the UAE and the Gulf, none of that's going to change as a result of this vote.
You mentioned the uncertainty and the way it's affected sort of markets and currencies leading up to today's vote. How much do you think the rhetoric from both camps has played into that?
Well, I think it definitely has, because it's been difficult to read which way the vote will go. And I think financial markets in particular want to know the outcome and prepare for it. So from our perspective, from our business perspective, we've actually become more nervous as the campaign has gone on, and as we've seen that the polls are running neck and neck. So we've taken a very defensive position. Because the likely scenario is that there will be volatility, particularly if there is an outvote, and you need to prepare for that.
What about preparing for opportunities? Say there's a Brexit vote overnight. Sterling's at 147-ish today, isn't it? That's the highest it's been so far this year. Say it goes down to 137, 127. Does the phone ring off the hook at Ras Mallah headquarters in London on 9 o'clock on Friday morning with everyone saying, Zach, buy me more, I don't know, townhouses in Eaton Square in London, buy me more warehouses in Manchester?
It's, it is the right way to think about it. I think if there was a run on sterling, it would likely be short term until the government was able to make the right announcements to stabilise, and it will be a great time to be buying. But, I don't think that's likely. I think in an outvote scenario, we're going to see everyone sitting on their laurels pretty much through the summer to see how things play out. It will really depend upon what the government actually says in terms of what they plan to do if there's an outvote. Personally, however, and this may be controversial, I've always believed that even if there is an outvote, it is not mandatory for the government to actually act, and therefore I think there may actually be a
hang on.
I think there might actually be a second vote.
Can they do that?
Well, legally, yes. I mean, I think no government could survive if they were not to listen to the people. But I think there is room for the government to go back to the EU and say, look, let's start negotiations. And all of a sudden, out from there comes, a great new deal that can be voted on again.
Yeah, see, this negotiation bit is kind of where I get a bit lost, because I don't think that the European Union, I mean, yes, I agree with you, they might, if it's a chance of possibly clawing the UK, Great Britain back into Europe, then maybe there could be flexibility. But this whole idea that Britain could start negotiating special terms and special entry into stuff, it's about, I don't think the EU is going to be feeling that generous. Do you know what I mean? It's not like you can leave a party on bad terms and then insist on coming back and playing on the bouncy castle.
You're right. I think the only thing that maybe has changed, just changed a little bit, I think during the campaign, is that it's become clear that this is quite a serious matter for the EU, not just for the UK. And if the UK were to vote to leave, there would be a very substantial impact politically and economically on the European Union. And I think to avoid that, you might find, it's obviously not for certain, but you might find that the EU may be a little bit more flexible than they've been in the past.
Zach Hydari is the chief executive of Ras Mallah. We're going to let you go because you've got a car waiting outside to take you to Dubai International Airport and take you on there to Heathrow, where you're going to cast your vote later on for the Remain campaign. Really appreciate you joining us this morning. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.